Alright, so here's part 2. I just stopped and started again. That's all. I'm cheap like that. Anyways, continue with the nostalgia trip. What did the 80s have better? Well, first off, music videos were a hell of a lot better in the 80s. Today's music videos, I swear, I can't... Even the early 90s videos, I think that's when it started getting like they are today, but I swear 80s music videos were something of a strange thing. I mean, they were really good. Although that's debatable. That's more or less one of those things where I guess most people will debate it because it's more like preference and taste than my actual feeling about it. Horror movies back in the 80s. Damn, you want to talk about horror movies. Nightmare on Elm Street. The YouTubasaurus brought it up, but man, Nightmare on Elm Street, even when you look at it today, as cheap as it was when it was made. I mean, it was made on a budget. And even though it looks cheap and feels cheap, it's still a great classic movie. I mean, it's one of those few movies where even if they had spent like 50, 60, 100 more dollars on it, it's like, it doesn't make it any better. And then when you look at other movies from the 80s, like Creepshow, or there's a bunch of movies that were made during the 80s, and I swear every single one of these horror movies, it's like awesome. You know, you can't not watch them. Or how about action movies? Action movies back in the 80s were awesome, like Rambo and, well, First Blood as it should be known as, but still, Rambo movies, the, almost any Arnold movie back in those days. Oh my goodness, how about Red Dawn? That's a fucking crazy-ass movie. If you've never seen Red Dawn, go watch it. Go rent the DVD, go do something, go find it online somewhere. Do what you gotta do. Watch Red Dawn just once. You only need to watch Red Dawn just once to be able to appreciate the cinematic quality of that movie. I must say, it's one of the few movies from the 80s that I must say, it blows me away every time I watch it. Malls. Damn. Malls back in the 80s. Shit. You want to talk about a place that you had to go. You had to go to the mall. If you didn't go to the mall, where the hell were you going? Oh my goodness. If you watch the movie Mallrats, you might get a little bit of a taste of what malls were like. But I swear, malls back in the 80s, you know, it was... I can't even begin to talk about it. I mean, malls back in the 80s. God, we had a toy store. We had what would they call the electronics boutique back then, which they now call EB Games or whatever it's changed its name to. But let me tell you, electronics boutique back in the day is nothing like it is today. Oh my goodness, it's like night and day at where electronics boutique used to be. Oh my goodness. Ours had computer stuff. I mean, the latest computer stuff. You want to talk about good games back in the day? If you were into PC gaming, you had to go to Electronics Boutique and get yourself some games back in those days. I tell you. Oh man. If you were in an Electronics Boutique in your games, I don't know where you were shopping. Unless you were going to Toys R Us to go get like Nintendo stuff or anything like that. Yeah, but other than that, man, you had to go to Electronics Boutique. That was the place, man. If you wanted Commodore or Amiga or any of those other classic 80s computer stuff, man, that was the place. Oh, goodness. How about TV? TV, man, back in the 80s, you gotta understand, TV was like internet back in the 80s. Good grief. If you didn't have a TV, you were like, dude, get with the times, you know, especially color TV, because I think that's when it first came. This is when people first started getting cable. I mean, today you look at cable and go, okay, yeah, cable. But back then, if you had cable, it was like, oh my gosh, this is actually something I want to watch. You got cable. And yeah, I mean, TV back in those days, I mean, honestly, this was the old days where people would actually... They would, I don't know how they always said it, it was like the old times, you had a date with a TV show. I'm telling you, man, every week you were glued to the TV. There was none of this DVR crap, so you could just sit there and live your life, man. I tell you, you were pretty much glued to the tube. And I also noticed, like, news back in the day was actually a hell of a lot better than it is today. You look at today's news, and it's like crap. I can't stand today's news channels. Every single time it's some sensationalist horseshit. You look at the old 80s news, it was real investigative journalism and really hard-hitting news. I mean, golly, that was news back in the day. I mean, live action, you know, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where they had April O'Neil. That's kind of like how the news was back then. It's like, I gotta go grab this big story and break it on the 6 o'clock news. That was how it was back then. Today, it's like, you watch the 6 o'clock news, you're like, meh, rapes, murders, whatever else, fires and shit like that. It gets boring. There's no more good journalism out there, it feels like. And how about heavy metal music back in the 80s? Oh my goodness. 80s heavy metal music was the stuff. I tell you put on some Def Leppard, I get into my high-pitched tone voice. I swear I sound like Mickey Mouse going down the road when I listen to it in the car. But I tell you put on some Def Leppard in the car and you can't stop me. Oh, and how about, and here's one thing I noticed. It depends on how you feel about it. But 80s nightclubs. Nightclubs back in the 80s were like, oh my goodness. It had to be one of the few stark contrasts with today. Today it's all about getting your name and some big name playing a song in the background of it. But it's like, man, back in the days, the 80s nightclub, that was a place where you met people, you had fun. And I mean, goodness, the 80s clubs were, or at least what you see in the movies and what everybody told me about them, I was like, man, nightclubs back in the 80s were the stuff. Good grief. You want something about cool places to go? I mean, you could go to the nightclub. Nowadays, it's like, it's just people trying to do a fashion show and shit like that. No, man. 80s nightclubs were arms and heads above everything else. Also, the theaters back then, man. If you went to the cinema, man, that was pretty good time to go to the cinemas back in the 80s. I mean, there's just so much stuff. It's just like, there's just so many things you could talk about the 80s as far as what was good. And I think I might as well pick on one thing that I know from my personal childhood that has changed since the 80s. Or at least this was the late 80s when I saw it. It was anime, Japanese anime. And you gotta understand, anime back in the days, there was only a couple ways to get it, and let me tell you, it's nothing like the kids these days experience. Back in the old days, you had to go to the comic book stores, or to somebody who dealt in the stuff. Usually you could get it, from what I heard, you could get it on tapes from people who had been stationed in Japan. As far as the army was concerned, they would bring that stuff back. Or you could get it fan subbed back in those days, but a lot of the commercial stuff came on tapes. Yeah, those good old VHS tapes. But here's the thing. One season of a show, and this was tape days, and remember, this is subtitled only, so there wasn't any dubs yet being done. The only way you could get it was to go down to the comic book store and see if they had it. And I knew only one comic book store I had, and the first time I saw it, I thought, man, that's some amazing shit. And I liked that the price tag, it was like $200 or $300 for a couple tapes. A couple tapes! It was like, it was Gundam, but it was like, a couple tapes cost you like $200 to $300. Like, damn! These are tapes! They probably only got like, what, max an hour or two? And you gotta understand, back in the 80s, people didn't pay over $20 for a movie. But crap, $200 to $300 for a couple tapes? This was a couple tapes! It wasn't even the whole series or anything like that, or not even a whole season. This was like $200 to $300 for a couple tapes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there you go. That's wax nostalgic for me. Today, the anime though is even though it's gotten cheaper, some of the stuff I can't even relate to anymore, or even like. It's. I mean, I guess what I grew up with is what I grew up with, but today's anime is a different story for me. I totally am not into it like I used to be. I mean, that's just me. Nothing against the style. I bet there's people who still enjoy what's there. I know my brother watches it a lot, so yeah. I just can't stand to watch it anymore. But back in the days, man, $200 to $300 for some tapes. By the mid-90s, it finally got down to $20. But there you go. There's the stark contrast. You want to see something where it was totally expensive back in the day, and then now it's cheap, and now it's like, oh, it's so blasé. But back then, it was like, this is anime, dude. You're not going to find this in stores kind of thing, except if you go down to the comic book store and pay $200, $300 a tape. You better not leave them suckers in the glove box. Alright, I'm almost reaching 10 minutes here, so I just thought I'd at least say something as a reply towards YouTubasaurus. So have a great day, guys, and don't get stuck too much in the past, because you can always make a better future.